Okay, so I thought I would come on and do a live and show you a demo on painting with pastels using some new pastel sets by the Florence Paintmakers. Now these are really lovely because they are handmade with natural pigment in Cumbria, which is where I used to live. And so I thought I would choose a Cumbrian setting. So I'm going to do a landscape, which is not something I usually paint, so this could go horribly wrong. However, if you're going to go wrong, why not go wrong in front of maybe one person? That's why I thought if I pick a Sunday at around lunchtime, no one's going to see this, so that's all good. So yes, I thought I would have a go at doing Saint Bee's head, mainly because one of the colours in this set is actually, oh hang on, let me get the right set, is actually called Saint Bee's Yellow, and it's taken, the pigment is taken from sandstone, which is taken from the Saint Bee's area. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. So shall I crack on? Because like I say, this could go horribly wrong because I don't often do landscapes, and I've never ever, oh, you see my dog barking in the background, and I've never ever used these particular pastels before. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I've turned you around so that you can hopefully see my board. Ooh, let's get some light on there. And what I'm using here is pastel mat. I'm using a plum coloured pastel mat. I'm using one that's a bit dirty because that way I'm using up my stock that, I keep knocking this light, that I can't use anywhere else. So what I'm going to start with is some charcoal, if I can find my charcoal. Where's a piece of charcoal? And I'm just going to draw the outline of Saint Bee's head first. So I'm just literally going to put in the top of that cliff edge that comes down into the sea there, and that cliff edge kind of comes round here and then goes back in this I love this shape. It's almost like an S shape going on there, which is lovely. So we've got the cliffs here and we've got some green. There's a little fence up there which I'll put in later, and then this is the sea, and the skyline is probably about here. So that's going to be my Saint Bee's head. So what I'm going to do is to start with the sky, and we've got a lovely pale blue sky. So this is basically a layering technique. So what I'm going to do is just put some, this is unison pastels, and I'm just putting some lovely blue there. When you look at paintings, if you look at the horizon line of actual skies, you'll find it lighter towards the bottom of the sky. So what I'm going to do is just put some dark blue in at the top there. And you'll see this in the landscape kits that I do as well. I have this same thing going on. And that looks really kind of weird, but that's fine because this is how you layer pastels effectively. So I'm just going to keep on putting a couple layers on. This purple background is giving an interesting effect, shall we say. I'm just going to blend that together. This is going to, I need to put a bit more pastel on because I've only put a thin layer, and that purple is really showing through, which is probably going to be quite nice towards the end. I'm going to put some lighter towards the horizon. There's a technical reason why it gets lighter towards the horizon. It's to do with refraction and the density of particles and gravity. It's all very technical. It's quite interesting actually, but there are lots of long words that I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce. My husband, who's a physicist and ridiculously clever, it just kind of keeps telling me, and I'm like, no, those words just don't fit. I don't understand. Well, I understand. I just can't articulate them particularly. And I'm just putting on more pastel and just reblending until I get an effect that I like, which I'm struggling with, to be honest, at the moment because of the purple background. I hadn't anticipated it being quite, I thought it would be fun. There you go. So basically, lesson learned already, and we're only, like a couple minutes in, is try these things first before you do them on a live. But as you all know, that's not really my style. If I'm going to do something, I'll just do it fully and I'll do it live and it'll work or it won't work and that'll be fine. That's the beauty of it all, really, isn't it? So I've got some, I'm going to put a little bit of, there's some wispy clouds in. You've got to love a wispy cloud or two, haven't you? I'm just going to put some in there. This is just using a white hard Faber-Castell pastel. And I'm just going to put some in here too. There's almost like a pinky shade on this sky that I'm now seeing, which is typical since I've just completely obliterated any purple underneath. I might see if I've got a little pink that oh, actually, let's have a look in this set since I am trying out this set. Now, this is one of the Florence Paintmakers pastels. This is a variant on the Egremont red pigment. And I'm just going to put a little bit in the sky just to give a little hint of, I don't know, pinkiness, which is quite pinky, isn't it? I'm going to blue up that top bit actually and put a bit more light up there. It's giving an interesting look to the sky. At this rate, it'll be about 5 o'clock tonight by the time I finish this, which probably isn't going to be good for anybody watching who's just going to be like, what is she prattling on about now? Right, okay, that's a sky. There's a little bit of pink in it for whatever reason. Right, I'm going to do a bit of sea coming down here, and the sea's very blue. So I've only got this dark blue by Unison. I really want something a bit lighter in some respects. And you can't quite, let me move this here, then you can see what I'm doing down there. So I'm literally just putting in some dark blue, and then I'm just going to go up to the skyline horizon. And I'm just going to put some lighter blue in there so that we're matching the colours that are in the sky. There's some lovely blue in this sea, which I don't know how I'm going to get, because I'd really like okay, this is a Faber-Castell blue. I'm just going to put some of this, that's a better colour blue, perfect. And I'm just putting some squiggle almost lines in there, because on the photograph, which you obviously can't see, that's another subtle point. If you're doing art and you don't want people to be, people can be quite cruel sometimes, and it's not, they just don't necessarily understand. Therefore, showing them a reference photo isn't necessarily doing you any favours. So don't, because art is an interpretation. You shouldn't have somebody constantly going, oh, it should look like this. I'm just going to put a bit of some of that blue up in this sky just to, so we've got some matching going on. So you've got to bring some of those colours in. Don't worry, that will look less weird once I just do this. It just harmonises if you've got the same colour going on. That's quite nice, that actually. Right, I'm going to leave some of the purple going through because that gives a nice depth to that sea. We've got some, it gets quite dark near the front. Again, you've got lighter going up towards the horizon line. I'm going to put some lighter stuff in there. We've got a little tide mark coming down. I will show you guys the reference photo at some point, because since you are watching me doing this, I'm just not sure how to move the camera. So I'm just going to put those, just a little indication of the tide movements. And with my white, I'm just going to lighten up some. See, with sea, it's kind of like little ripples interlocking, and just that kind of almost crisscross will give you an indication of waves. They don't have to be exact, and we're going to blend them so they don't look quite so obvious, but that will give you an illusion of movement. So we've got some movement going in there now. I want to lighten up just around this cliff edge here a little. Just using a pale blue unison there. And I'll just a little added lighter, because as you know, we get lighter towards the horizon. I quite like that Egremont red that I've got in the sky there. That's rather nice. I ought to go online on my thing. Oh, thank you, June. Oh, that's Instagram. Do you know when you do these on your phone and you kind of look down, and I haven't got anything, I can't see comments or anything because I'm actually looking at the painting and not on my feed, and then I've got an Instagram thing, messages coming up, and I'm thinking, oh, that must be what I'm doing, but it isn't at all, so I'll just shut up now. Right, so I've got an indication there of sky and sea, which is quite nice, and I'm going to work now on this cliff. Now this is where I'm going to start using my rather wonderful new pastels. So this is an Egremont red by the Florence Paintmakers. Now this pigment that they've used here is actually made from iron ore taken from the mine in Egremont, which I think is pretty darned awesome because it gives this wonderful, oh actually that's really nice deep red. And I'm just putting some, I'm not making this exact to the cliffs, I just want to give an impression of, because this looks like a sandstone cliff, and this red I think would make a really nice shadow colour. So I'm just going to put it down in, because you know when I do animals and I'm looking at always going in the direction of the fur. Well, this is sedimentary rock. So I'm going to go in the direction of those sedimentary rock deposits. We've got a little bit of almost like a landslide coming on down here. And I'm literally just putting some marks in initially. And then what I also have in this set is that's a slate grey, and that's actually made from slate using the pigment there. And I'm going to go back to the St. Bees sandstone. So this is a lovely yellow made from sandstone, obviously, taken from St. Bees. And of course, this is a picture that I'm doing of St. Bees head. So I think that's quite appropriate, really. That's rather a lovely colour. It's a nice coverage. It's quite grainy, these ones, which I guess they've got, if they're using sandstone as the pigment, you're going to get graininess, aren't you? So this is just picking out the light tones in that cliff edge. And there's some more grey than sandstony there. We've got some sandstony bits coming out into the sea and almost under the sea. So I'll put some blue over the top of there when I come back in. So you can just see the rocks under the ocean there. And just put some, blend that blue going over a little. Always check your hands before you blend. Yellow into blue, of course, is going to make a lovely green. Not necessarily the look you want. However, quite appropriate for some of the sea around here. I'm going to take my slate and I'm going to put some slate marks coming in. So this is really a painting of a landscape from the landscape, which is, I think, kind of poetic, really, isn't it? And I'm just giving an indication. I'm not putting any detail in. This isn't a detailed piece that I'm doing. I'm just wanting to play with these colours and see how they react and work together and blend together, and the colours. And like I say, just because of the fact that they are from the local landscape, which I thought was, like I say, pretty awesome. And they are rather lovely pastels, actually. Again, I probably should have researched into what I was actually going to paint, because, like I say, I'm not a landscape painter, but this is just giving an impression. I want to put some dark in there, really. I want a nice deep dark brown. Let me have a look, see what I've got in my deep dark brown selection. Oh, that looks rather nice. This is the same brown we're using in the hair. I'm just going to put some of that along this edge. Again, using those horizontal lines to give the illusion of the sedimentary rock thing. And I'm just going to put these in as shadows. Feels a bit Tony Hartish, this. Just giving the impression, the illusion of some shadows. So we've got the sun hitting the edge of some of these rocks. And this dark goes up and into the green, which I'll put in shortly. And again, it's using, if you notice, we're still using the same principles as I use in my art kits and in my animal work, which is using 3 shades of the same colour. So you're looking at a mid, a dark, and a light tone. So for the cliffs, we're using this dark brown for the shadow. I may go in with a little bit of black over the top, just to deepen some other areas. And we're using the wonderful Egremont tint, the red, for a mid-tone. And then we've got the sandstone, the St. Bees yellow for the light. And we're just building those on top. And rather than use my fingers to soften this, I'm just going to use a blending stump just to soften the edges so I don't completely smudge everything into each other, which is what I have been doing with my fingers, which gives a nice effect, but I want to try and keep things a little bit more linear. So I want that nice kind of sedimentary feel. So I'm going to do it almost like stripes. There'll be lots of people going, you shouldn't blow your pastels. Sorry, but I do. I'm going to put some blue over top of some of these shadows coming down here just to deepen them. This actually looks absolutely nothing like this cliff, but it'll kind of come together. I have faith. It's all to do with layering with pastels. Just got to keep putting those layers on, keep darkening and tweaking and just looking at your reference photo, giving a bit of a squint to see where your shadows are, because the whole of this cliff is quite shadowed, really. We've only actually got the light on the top of here. Everything else is slightly darker. So I think what I might do is just darken ever so slightly by... Ooh, that's a bit nice of an effect, actually. Let me just put some more of that lovely sandstone just to lighten up some areas here, just where the sun's catching. This is a lovely sunshine colour, this. I really quite like it. The sun is just catching these bits, the rest is actually in shadow. I'm just going to put a bit of some, this is the Florence Paintmakers white, and I'm just going to put some white in there just for there's certain elements of the cliff that are a little bit white. And I think that's where you've probably got ledges where you will have birds roosting, and this is the bird dropping. We've also got a little bit of white in the sea there, just around these rocks. I'm just going to pop that little, just a touch, just to give the indication of some waves breaking there. I think that's quite nice. And again, just soften the edges of that down a bit. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the dark blue just in amongst some of that brown. And dark blue is fabulous for shadows. It really, it's kind of better than black almost, because it really gives a depth. Black has a tendency has a tendency to be a bit flat at times, whereas you put blue in there, especially blue on top of a dark brown, and you get this really lovely, deep, rich colour. So we've just got some areas in the cliff there that are just a bit darker. And there's actually, yeah, let's put some dark brown on top of that bit there. Because the other aspect that's not dark brown at all, wrong colour. I'll put that on top. Again, layering, so fortunate, isn't it? You can just cover up anything. Quite often, if you're looking at wanting to get some contrast in, putting the darkest darks next to the lightest lights is a really good trick to really bring out some contrast. So I've got a little indication there of some cliffs. I'm just putting some shading in there. Yeah, that's the Florence is quite chalky, but it's quite nice. So what we're going to do is just tidying up there and getting some more colour going in, because I've got a nice bit coming up, dark going up there and off to the side. So there are some elements that are really blurry and other elements that are less so, just to give, again, that contrast and interest going on. Okay, so there's a little bit of cliff in there. So I'm now going to put some greenery on. This is just, like I say, just a quick sketch just to see where we're going with this, really. So I'm just going to put some grass over the top. And again, same as I do in the art kits, go in the direction of, I was going to say the fur. This isn't fur, obviously, but in the direction of the landscape. So this is a, St. Bee's Head is a curved head here. You've got the grass curving over the edge of the top of the cliff, and you want to mimic that. And the best way to do that is make strokes in the direction of the landscape. So I'm just going to bring some light green down in a bit of a kind of block area here, simply because I'm then going to put some flowers over the top, and I just want to have a base here, and I'm going to layer some grasses and flowers over the top of there. But already you're beginning to get that impression. So what we want to do now is get a little bit of a mid-green going on. We've just got the mid-green coming over the top here. Again, I'm just not putting any detail in because we can't see the detail. It's far away. I will actually show you the picture at some point. And I'm just, again, putting some dark, leaving the light coming through. And I quite like the fact that we've got the purple showing through in a lot of this. And we've got a little bit of green tufts coming on these little lighter areas. I'm just going to put a little bit of touches of this mid-green coming in. And quite a lot down here. This has got in shadow, this dark corner, so I'm going to put mostly dark green on here, and I'm just going to, again, this gives us a mottled effect so that when we put our dark grasses and blend, that'll be covered and looks very different. Okay, so let's put a bit of the darkest green just on some elements coming in here. This gives us a bit of shadow. Just over that end bit, and I'm going to put, there's a little bit of sandstone, so dried grass, which is this lovely sandstone colour. I'm just going to pop that into the grass just at the edge of where the grass curves down, and then when it's into that sunlight where it's dried a little. That mixes quite nicely, actually. I'm just going to blend that. Helps if you check your fingers before you blend and find a cleanish finger. And I'm just blending away from the cliff, going up over the top so that we've got this nice kind of smooth-ish, because like I say, you can't see individual grasses here. And I'm going to go back in with my light green and just highlight some areas. I hope I'm not boring everybody. Mind you, like I said before, I kind of picked this time because I kind of figured most people wouldn't be watching, so I'm safe to make quite a few little errors, which I'm hoping I don't do. So far, I'm really enjoying this, and it's like I say, I'm doing this essentially because Preston Art Society have set a challenge to do something, a painting to do with the landscape this month, and I thought I would, like I say, give it a go with these lovely new pastels, because it's kind of, it appeals to my sense of, I'm not quite sure what the right word is really, amusement, sense of humour. I like to do things that are a bit different, so the thought that it's the Egremont and St. Bees colours and the pigment for the pastels is being used in the painting of St. Bees' head kind of amuses me. It's irony, isn't it? I like it. So I just got a little bit of the dark cutting into the grass there. I'm just going to lighten that up a little touch, just so it's not. And then put a little bit of, where's my dark blue? Oh, there it is. Just again, because quite often shadow under green is often blue or red. There's lots of opposite colours going on. That gives, I think I'll just put a little bit more. You're going to see, this is what happens when ordinarily I'm painting with music blaring and it feels really odd, prattling away to myself. I'll put a little bit more of that light there and a little bit of the light green. Just dotting on now, just to give, like I say, it gives a bit of an illusion of more of a tapestry of colours. We've got some occasional green popping in on some of these ledges, where we've got some alpine styled grasses. And the other thing we've got is a bit of a fence coming around here, so I'm going to attempt to do this with a little bit of white and just, I mean, you can hardly see the fence. I'm just literally giving a slight impression, nothing too dramatic. You can't even see the bits that are going across. And then I'm just going to take my other hand and just do a little bit of blending on that sky where I'm still seeing the purple coming through. Okay, so now we're going to come into this area and just do a little bit down here. And we've got some lovely flowers. We've got some more of this wonderful sandstone colour coming in underneath as well. So I'm just going to put some little sandstone areas. And then we're going to use our blending stump in this area to give that lovely illusion of grass. There's some nice purples and whites going on here. I have to find a purple now in my pastel box. I know I have some. So I'm just doing, like I say, some approximate placing of colours. So I'm just going to put some dark down here. We've got dark corner. It's actually, in the picture, it's in a deep shadow because I think this is the shadow of the person taking the photograph. But I'm not going to put that in. I'm just going to put the dark shadows. We've got a bit of a slate coming in there as well. So I'm going to just pop that in. Let's get some dark splotches of colour going on. And then I can go over with flowers and other colours. So let's get our slate grey. I'm just going to put a little bit of a stone over the top there. My computer's just made a funny noise. I'm hoping it's not to do with anything that I'm doing here. Right, so let's just get my blending stump, and with my blending stump I'm going to blend with my fingers here, because this bit up here is actually quite blurry. You can't really see what's going on here. There's some bits going off and into over the edge of the cliff. And that's fine. So we're getting a bit blurry here. And then down here, we start looking at some detail. So here we're looking more at the grass-like movements. And again, same as you do with fur, just crisscrossing. You're not going in the same direction. You're going in the direction that the flowers are, which is essentially up, but not all in a row, if you know what I mean. We're looking at slightly crisscrossing because nature is never overly symmetrical. You don't have like rows of daisies all growing up in the same direction. So put a bit of a crisscross on there, and it gives an illusion of depth too. So we've got that lovely feeling of movement going on there. Oh, hi, Liesl. Yes, these are my new pastels. Well, the red and the sandstone and the grey colour are my greens, are my unisons that I'm using. But yeah, the sort of sandstony St. Bees sandstone and the Kirby grey, which is from slate, and then that wonderful rich orangey red, which is the Egremont iron ore pigment. And again, I'm just constantly using my blending stump, just making grass-like movements. You can see how this kind of takes me hours when I'm doing animals, and I'm doing like so much fur, because you put on a layer and you'll put on another layer and then you'll put on another layer, and it's that constant layering up that gives you that wonderful illusion of depth. And you can see me, I'm going up and down in this, which ordinarily if I was just doing fur I'd just go in one direction, but I'm very aware of I'm doing this filming, so I can't just stop and trundle off for a brew or a wee break, or, you know, taking days to do painting, which is what I normally do. But that's all good, because like I say, this is an experiment just to see how these pastels work, what they look like, and just have a go at a landscape, really. I don't often do landscapes, and it's quite nice to occasionally do something different. Okay, normally when you do something different, it's usually advisable to not necessarily do it on camera, but, you know, hey-ho. Oh, thank you. They are lovely, really rich browns. Yes. I do rather like them, I have to say. And it's interesting having the purple background. Like I say, this isn't the normal background colour I would probably have chosen for this painting, but it was a scrap of pastel mat that had stuff dropped on it, so it wasn't really particularly usable for anything else, so I thought I would use it for this. I never throw anything away, always reuse it. Right, so that's giving a little bit more of a grass feel to it. I'm going to put some grasses going over the edge in a minute, but you can kind of get that feeling. I'm going to put some flowers and things on there, I think. First I'm just going to put some little grasses just kind of going over the edge and just having that little bit of light popping in the foreground where we can see some of the original individual is what I meant to say, grasses. Not too many, just a couple, just to, and you don't necessarily have to have them. Like you can see there, I've got a little bit there and you can't see it going all the way to the end. That's fine, because you'll find in real life, you'll have flowers and bits, and some stems will catch the light, others won't, and it will give an impression of things kind of almost vanishing into the foreground, and that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to put some, like I say, some little lines there, and then I will get my blending stump and just soften some of them slightly. This is just to help with that, break up that line going over the cliff edge. I'm just going to soften those slightly with my finger. And then I'm going to go in and do the same with the mid-green and just put some mid-green ones in there too. You can't really see the mid-green ones actually. Oh, you can there. I'm going with some dark green instead. That's a bit better. You want some contrast, so that's why it's always good to do blend some over the top. Blending will take your lightest lights and darkest darks and mute them basically. So going back over with a bit of contrast is often quite a nice thing to do. Let me just blend that because that's in the softer areas. Just soften those lines ever so slightly. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of flowers on there. So I've got some sort of pinky purpley and white by the looks of it. So what have I got here? Oh, that's a nice colour. Oh, so's that. So these are some colours that I've got in my roses kit, which has just come out. So I'm going to use these just to dot on some flowers. And again, you can't see individual petals, but you can see a cluster of these lovely pinky flowers coming down. Again, I will show you the reference photo, I promise, at some point. Part of me doesn't want to, because you might go, oh, that looks nothing like it. Please don't compare. Art is an expression, not a replica of a photo. So I'm just putting the pink ones on first. This is the pink I used in the pink rose. I love that rose. And I've noticed I've lost some of that slate thing, so I'm just going to pop some of that back with my slate grey and make that a bit more going over the edge a little bit, and add some of the paler white on the top, just to where it's catching. And it's probably got a bit of lichen on it, to be honest. And then I'll just put a little bit of green going over the top. And then I'll continue with these pinky flowers coming up to that grey slate. Now there's also some darker flowers and some white ones as well, so I'll do the pink first. And again, it's just looking at the shape of where the clusters of flowers are on my photo that you can't see, so I can put them anywhere. I'm just going to put some up here too, but these are further away, so we're not really, it's more of a, definitely more of a dot. I'm just going to put some coming over the edge too. They're very pretty, these. I don't know what they are. You can't really tell, the photos a little on the blurry side. There's loads down here. So that looks a bit kind of flat at the moment, but that's, like I say, that's fine because I'm going to add some more colours in there. So what I'm going to do now is add some kind of a little bluey white, the same bluey white we used in the sky. I'm just going to go over some of these, just in amongst these pink flowers, just to lift them. Again, you're looking at contrast. Actually, I could probably do with a bit more contrast there. Maybe something a bit even brighter. Or Another way to do contrast, if you've got a lot of light and you're wanting to bring contrast in, the lights aren't looking as light as you would like, you can go in with something much darker, and that has the effect of making those lights look even lighter. So I'm just going to put a fair few down here. Again, it's just dotting around. Yes, I definitely need something dark pink. Thankfully, I have a darker pink. I have this beautiful colour, which is also used in the... Honestly, I am not plugging my roses kit at all, but I totally am plugging my roses kit. But yeah, this is another one of the colours used in the roses kit, this beautiful unison, deep pinky red. Now, the photograph isn't this dark, but I rather like these colours. And I think next to the other pink and white, it really makes the white stand out more. And again, just placing it in amongst them. These ones down the bottom almost have a blue colour, but I think that's because they're in shadow. I don't think they're really blue at all. So what I'm going to do is put some more white up there. This is a bit of a brighter, this is a pinky white. It's a bit like those Duracell colours, paint, you know, the ones that are barely white. Where they say, this is a pink white, this is a blue white. They all just look white. To me, anyway. But they do tend to be a brighter or a duller white, to be fair. I'm rambling now, aren't I? Apologies. So we've got some little kind of whites going on there, and little random flowers. You can actually see some slight hint of colour there, but not much. I might actually invent a little hint of colour just on here. You can't really see that. Let me put a bit darker on there. Okay, I think that's rather pretty actually for a St. Bees Head-esque painting, using these rather lovely pastels that actually are made from the environment that the painting is of, which I think is rather awesome. So those are the ones that I've used. The Florence Paintmakers pastel set in the Kirby Slate, St. Bees Yellow and Egremont Red. And that is a painting of St. Bees Head, which I will briefly show you the reference photo. So it's not too, actually, looking at it, I'm going to put some blue around there now. This is a very quick, as you can tell, painting. You can take as long or as short as you like on paintings and art, and you can keep adding colour and depth and brightness and all sorts as you go along, and it's a wonderful one. I love art. It's just so wonderful and relaxing, and you really can spend literally hours on it. Oh, thank you, Jean. So that's a little foray into a landscape of St. Bees Head. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to flick my screen back now if I can find out how. Yay! So yeah, that's a little foray into doing a little landscape, layering up on pastels. It was just a quick one, but yeah, hope you liked it, and that's it really. I will probably do another one at some point. I might plan the next one I know that's so unlike me, but it probably might be wise to do something that's planned. I was thinking actually, if people fancy it, I've got this lovely kingfisher, and I've got some rather lovely sparkly pastels by Maison du Pastel, which I want to try out, and I'm thinking a kingfisher on sparkly pastels might be nice. So what I might do is put in the Facebook page a day and a time, and I will hop on at that time and do, say, half an hour every week and create a kingfisher, and you can come along and see how it works, or not, as the case may be. I love sparkles too, Jean, I have to say. I have to avoid the white sparkly pastel though, because it's literally like a glitter bomb, and like my whole studio just gets covered in glitter, which is awesome, but not necessarily what you want in your tea. So yeah, I'll do that. I think that will be quite fun, and it's sort of playing with something I'm a little bit more familiar with in the animal side of things. But yeah, I really love these earthy pastels, so I will give it a go. Anyway, I will stop rambling now and go and make myself a brew. Enjoy the rest of your day, and see you later. Bye.